What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here. It is March Badness 2025. This year, we are doing a tournament of the worst takes in the history of this channel. Round one already happened, so go check out that video. We gave our votes for the winners, but then we also turned it over to the audience. So now we are checking in on the YouTube vote and the Patreon vote to determine the winners of round one, and then we'll also give our votes for round two matchups.
I have not looked at any of the numbers, so I'm going in totally blind, which would be fun.
Same here. So we should note basically the YouTube is worth 2 points. So in most instances, I think the YouTube will determine it. In instances where we are together and YouTube goes against us, basically, then Patreon comes in as the tiebreaker.
A lot of faith in our YouTube community to get this right.
A lot of comments in the last video talking about things that we left off the tournament. I think we could do a separate bracket and maybe next year and then have the two winners go head to head.
Plenty more bad takes where this came from.
Matchup number one was my placing Sign of the Times 29 during Prince Week against Cramser's negative review of the Jason Isbell record. We both voted for Prince as the worst take, and so did YouTube. So that is moving on.
That's got to be one of the favorites moving on, especially if it goes five for five.
Yeah, on Patreon that was 53 votes to 3 votes.
Ooh, you in trouble, Jason. You in trouble.
Okay, matchup number two. We have to put an asterisk next to this one. Um, your placement of Violator during Depeche Mode week. We said it was number 9. I think you actually put it number 7. So we were wrong. We may
Oh,
have
number seven. That's not bad. Not bad.
still pretty bad. Versus my placing New Morning by Suede number 1. We both said your take was worse, and so did YouTube, and so did Patreon. So two clean sweeps so far.
Interesting.
Crams are saying Ain't No Mountain High Enough was the worst top 40 song of the year versus your number 7 placement of Remain in Light during Talking Heads week. We both said Cram's take was worse, and so did YouTube, but not by that much, 54% to 46.
Yeah, I was worried about that one. I was
And
definitely sweating that result, but that's good. That's good.
30 votes to 18 on Patreon.
Okay. All right.
This is me placing Soap Opera number 4 during Kinks Week versus Cram's Hand That Feeds by Aerosmith as Song of the Year in 1977. We were split on this one, so no clean sweep this time around. But YouTube has called it for Cramser's take being worse. Let's see. Patreon also went Cram's way, so Cram moves
Interesting.
on.
But I don't think that's the worst take in the tournament, but it might be the most confusing.
It's so random. Okay, matchup number 5 is you placing in Rainbow's number 7. You have a thing about placing things 7th.
I guess so.
Violator, Remain in Light, and in Rainbow's all number 7. And that's up against neither Cram or I placing Mardi Gras last during CCR week. We both said Cram's take, or no, we both said your take was worse, and so did YouTube. Patreon went the other way.
Wow.
Patreon said the CCR take was worse. Doesn't matter.
I honestly can't remember anything about Mardi Gras, so I don't know. I'm not too upset about winning this one.
Matchup 6 is my ranking of Who albums versus Crams replacing Still Cruising over Friends during Beach Boys week. We both said Cram's take was worse. So did YouTube. Patreon did not. Patreon says my Who take is worse, which is not correct. Sorry, patrons. Not even close.
Interesting. Interesting Patreon and YouTube splitting.
Yeah.
Was not expecting that.
Okay, matchup number 7 is your dislike of Tom Waits against me placing Painkiller by Judas Priest at number 12. We split on this. YouTube says your take is worse. Patreon dead tie, 19 votes each.
Hmm. Not a lot of interest in that one, I guess.
Tom Waits, Joe, moving on.
Really, the YouTubers are really letting you off the hook on some of these, I gotta say.
Finish the first side of the bracket with matchup 8, Kramzer's bizarre ELO ranking versus your dismissal of the Bebop Deluxe catalog. We both said Cram's take was worse. So did YouTube. And so did Patreon.
Another, another sweep for Cramser. It's gonna be all Cramsers by the time we get to the Elite Eight here.
All right, other side of the bracket now. Matchup 9 is my number 8 placement of Wish You Were Here against our RYM tier list video. We both said my take was worse. So did YouTube by a huge margin, 86 to 14%, 44 to 3 votes on Patreon.
That's definitely a top seed moving forward, I think.
Okay, matchup number 10, Cramser's number 3 placement of Cut the Crap versus me peaking at 2.5 stars for the Stooges discography. We both said Cram's take is worse. So did YouTube. Dead tie on Patreon, 26 votes each.
Interesting. Too bad for them. Their vote doesn't matter.
Would be nice to have one matchup where Patreon matters. Okay, matchup 11 is Cramser not liking Stevie Wonder's harmonica playing against you being lukewarm on Blood on the Tracks. We said Cram's take is worse. So did YouTube. Not by that much, though, 56 to 44. Patreon actually said your take is worse, 29 to 24.
Well, must be the Bob Dylan discovering Bob Dylan podcast stands.
Okay, matchup number 12 is me peaking at 3 stars for the PJ Harvey discography against Cramser really hating the Monkees. And how are we on this? We were split on this one. The YouTube vote went to the Cram Monkey take, and Patreon went the other way. So 3 votes to 2. Cramser moving on.
A lot of like latent anger about Cramser's Monkeys take. People still haven't forgiven him for that.
Okay, matchup 13 is you preferring the original mix of Tim against me giving OK Human 1.5 stars. We were split. YouTube said that your take is worse. And Patreon did also.
Another terrible vote. I gotta say, democracy really letting me down here, as it usually does.
Matchup 14, Cramser bizarrely giving Between the Buttons 2.5 stars against you putting Adore last on the Smashing Pumpkins ranking. You and I were split on this one. YouTube went Cramser, and so did Patreon.
Not surprising there.
All right, matchup 15 is me putting The Dreaming last during Kate Bush week versus Cramser putting Introduce Yourself first during Faith No More week. You and I were split on this vote, but it was not even close. The Kate Bush Dreaming, 78% to 22, and 30 votes to 14 on Patreon. So Kate Bush moving on. And then the last matchup. It's you putting Plastic Ono Band at number 4 versus Cramser ranking Balance ahead of Van Halen 1.
Please,
We obviously both
please.
said
Don't
Crams.
even need to. Don't even need to
30,
announce this one.
31% of people said your John Lennon take is worse on you.
31%.
Yeah, so I mean, Cram still won it, but
That's way more than it should be. It's embarrassing for those voters.
listen to this. Patreon, 25 votes to 22 votes.
Unbelievable.
That is wild.
Maybe people have a lot of anger towards me, maybe. That's what I'm sensing in this first round of voting.
So let me count this up real quick. Three of my takes going on, four of yours, and nine of Cram's.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, there's nothing we can do about this, really. Crams are made the bad. He had the bad opinions. There's nothing we can do here.
Okay, so here's a look at the new bracket. We've got Sign of the Times at 29 versus Violator at number 7. Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Worst Song of the Year against Hand That Feeds, Song of the Year. In Rainbows, number 7 versus Friends, Lower Than Still Cruisin'. Hating Tom Waits against Cram's ELO ranking. Wish You Were Here at number 8 versus Cut the Crap at number 3. Hating Stevie Wonder's Harmonica against Hating the Monkeys. Preferring the original Tim mix against Between the Buttons at 2.5. And The Dreaming last place against Balance better than Van Halen 1. Um,
Coffee's there. Some good matchups, I think. I don't love the Cramser versus Cramser ones.
there's two of those, yeah.
Yeah, there's it's impossible to pick which is worse, really. Both of those.
Uh,
Uh, we'll have to give it a shot here.
Okay, so Sign versus Violator.
I mean, I don't mean to, let myself off the hook, but clearly, sign of the times.
You're saying Sign of the Times is worse?
Yeah, especially now that it's come to light that Violator is only my seventh, not the ninth.
I mean, if I like Depeche Mode more, it would be a very easy to say your take's worse, but I'm still gonna say yours is worse. We'll split up. We'll just let YouTube take that one.
If I lose this one, I may quit the channel completely.
Cram's worst song of the year versus Cram's song of the year.
Worst song of the year. Ain't a Mountain High Enough is a classic. Hand That Feeds, that's just a weird one.
Agree. Yeah. Okay. In Rainbows versus Thinking Friends is worse than Still Cruising.
And that's tough. In Rainbow is definitely more beloved. So I might just vote against myself here just to, give the critics something. But I think it's pretty close in badness.
I think eventually you're gonna move on because people get very heated when something they love is they feel like undervalued.
Yes.
But I think maybe not enough people have heard Still Cruisin'. Like people need to give that a fresh listen before they vote because it is such a bad record. So I got to vote for Cram there.
Okay, interesting. For me, it just comes down to no one really cares that much about Friends, and people care way too much about In Rainbows. And despite that, like Friends is still at best like maybe the bottom, reaches of the top 10 for the Beach Boys. So I'll give myself a grudging vote here, I guess.
You hating Tom Waits against Cram's ELO ranking?
Gotta be ELO because hating Tom Waits is good.
I don't know about that, but his ELO list is nuts. So
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to remember back to that one. I really had no idea what was even left on his list when he got to number one. I thought he skipped something or I missed something, and then he busts out the first album. That was an all-timer, I think.
well, this could be the final, I think, if they were on different sides of the bracket. You got Wish You Were Here 8 versus Cut the Crap 3.
Ugh, that's tough. I mean, that should be the final. Like, that should be. But people didn't seem to care as much about the cut your crap ranking as I thought they would. Maybe the Clash just aren't that. you know, cool anymore. People don't really care. Um, s- that's tough.
I
I'm gonna go
think,
with
go ahead.
I gotta go with cut the crap because it's just a dumber choice. It it just has never once, no one on earth has ever had that happen. Like, Wish You Were Here, like there's enough Pink Floyd albums where you could theoretically have it that low. But
That's my point. Yeah, there's a bunch of good Pink Floyd albums. I don't understand why people are so mad about this placement. They're a band with a ton of great records. So like what?
like even if you put like The Wall, Animals, Dark Side, and say you really love the first, couple, and then Metal, like right there, you got Wish You Were Here, like eighth. Like it's not that
Yeah.
hard to do.
Um, I'm with you. I think Cut the Crap is a way crazier take, but again, I think people get way more passionate and upset about things they love being placed low rather than bad albums being placed high.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think this is going to go to the Patreon vote. Actually, I expect YouTube to go against me.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that shakes out. Next, Stevie's Harmonica versus the Monkees.
Both are confounding in different ways. The harmonica one was another one when he said that, I was just like so taken back. Like, where does that opinion even come from? Like, it makes no sense. Disliking the monkeys, I feel like that's a very common opinion. It's a wrong opinion, but it's a quite common one. This is tough. This is like 50-50 for me. I think I gotta go. I'll go Stevie on this one. I think you're gonna go monkeys and maybe.
No, it's Stevie.
Oh, Stevie. Wow.
Yeah, it's for sure. The Tim Mix versus Between the Buttons.
Between the buttons. Easiest matchup in the whole tournament.
It's kind of close one for me. I don't think either of those goes beyond the next round, but yeah, I'm kind of torn 50-50 on that. So I'll throw it to the Tim one just so that it's up to the YouTube votes. And then we got Dreaming versus Van Halen.
Another one where as much as I want to knock you for the dreaming placement, it's gotta be balance. The Dreaming, I mean, Kate Bush has a pretty sparkling discography. The Dreaming is a pretty weird album that, right off the bat, I didn't, I wasn't going to be my number one until I really got into her and it and listened a bunch. So having it last doesn't phase me. So I'll vote for Cramser here because I think Balance sucks. Terrible album. And Van Halen 1 is one of the greatest debuts of all time, one of the greatest guitar records of all time. And yeah, it's kooky talk for putting Balance over that.
I'm obviously going Balance versus Van Halen one also. I'm a little nervous though at how close that was the last. I mean, that should have been 100% of the vote. I can't believe it was only 3 votes separating it on Patreon.
Well, The Dreaming has a lot of fans. It's a RYM darling, and I feel like that's probably gonna get Wish You Were Here into the finals
Mm.
against something from the other side.
All right. Well, you know what to do if you want to vote. You can check out the posts tab on our YouTube page. And if you want to vote twice, you can also become a patron on our Patreon. Let us know what you think of these matchups in the comments and how you're voting. And thanks for watching. We'll see you in round 3.